Welcome to Perfect Fit Closets training session number 3. Today we're going to be talking about 2020 designs using our PFC catalog. It's the introduction of how to use. Today I'm your host, Sherwin Keeley, PFC support manager and PFC catalog trainer. We'll be discussing today on where to find training videos, how to draw walls, how to edit our placement zones. We'll also be talking about different types of modules, such as tall module stretchables, how to drag and drop a module. We'll also go over the characteristics. We'll also be talking about wall modules, which is the second most commonly used type of module. Wall modules are off the ground using a hanging rail system. How to make corners, and it's just a preview. We're also going to show you how to change colors, profile changes, as well as adding or subtracting pull handles, and how to contact support for additional training help. I have my perfectfitclosets.com dealer portal. We're going to select our dealer login, and that unlocks several different tabs once you are logged in. It opens up our notice board all the way down to the support tab. To get our catalogs, please hover over the 2020 catalogs, pick on your applicable country. Once you click on your applicable country, you can right-click the link here and click Save Link As. A new dialog box will appear. Please make a note, we do not want to change the file name. Keep the name intact in the zipped file. We can also see that we do have an actual important message that says, important, do not change the catalog name. Once you gone and download it, please go ahead and open up Catalog Manager and follow the directions to install the catalog. We're going to now hover over the Training tab. In our Training tab, we're going to left-click our PFC catalog videos. In our PFC catalog videos, we have several different areas. The first area is our design practice area. In our design practice area, we always want to encourage all new designers and dealers to spend some time in practice and enhancing your skills. We have how to build tall modules, wall modules. We have plan views with instructions on how to build a master closet. And we also have an explainer video on how to build that particular master closet. Further down below, we have 3 sections, section 1 of 3 all the way to 3 of 3. In our section 1 of 3, we have several different overview areas. We have such as catalog setup and how to download it using our catalog manager, design setup such as how to create walls. We also have important designing information such as bringing it off the wall, a 1/4-inch variances on each side to accommodate any bowing of the drywall. We also have how to add 1 inch or greater to the walls and adding fillers. Here is one important area called how to change colors and profiles. We will show you in today's session, but there are 2 videos on selecting the structure color, profiles, and hardware, and then again, tips and tricks. In our second column, we have ordering steps. When you are about to place an order, we highly recommend to go over these 6 steps. These 6 steps include entering the design information on the kit file, adding your line-to-line dimensions, because you are thus creating the blueprint for your installers. Next is we have adding our installation notes, printing out the plan view for your client and installer, downloading the cost and sell report, which is required for the time of ordering, and how to place an order. We also have technical tips such as 360 panoramic viewer and how to use that. And then we have tips and tricks. On the right-hand side, we have adding our lighting using decorative lighting and other information such as adding logos, quick price versus list price, creating the quotes, and so forth. Next is section 2 of 3. In section 2 of 3, we have 2 areas called closets, and then we also have garages. Let's ignore the third column for a moment and just take a look at our first 2 columns, which are relating to closets. There are several different categories, such as our modules, parts, accessories, hardware, molding, obstacles, and extras. The 3 primary areas that designers will use are going to be modules, parts, and accessories. So it's very easy. We add the module, We figure out the depth and the width. Once all the modules are done, we just drag and drop parts and accessories, and these will resize according to the module depth and width, thus making it very easy program to use. The four main links that I like to point out and that are commonly used are going to be the stackable modules, wall modules, tall modules, and tall corner modules. Once you master how to add the modules and the placements, everything else is very, very easy to use. So I highly advise watching these several times to understand how the modules work. But let's go over it right now and figure out how to do that. We now have our 2020 catalog. My apologies, 2020 designs, and down below on the left-hand side is our local browser. We're going to go ahead and choose either the PFC Canadian catalog for our Canadian dealers, or we're going to choose the Perfect Fit Closets USA catalog for our US dealers. We'll click on the PFC US dealers today. You can see the two areas, the closets and garages. And down below, we have kitchen door and drawer fronts. If you ever wanted to drag and drop kitchen door and drawer fronts, maybe you are a dealer that builds your own cabinetry and you just want to buy doors, that you just drag and drop it here, and there are more videos online. Down below at the very last area, last row, is our catalog version. Today, we are using July 15th, 2024, and in the US catalog. If I scroll on up, we're going to go ahead and talk about our modules, parts, and accessories today. We're going to go ahead and left click our room layout tab, and we're going to click on our continuous wall button, and we're going to draw a wall. Today, we're going to practice a reach-in closets. Now, reach-in closets are typically 24 inches deep. So we're going to go ahead and make that, and we're going to go clockwise. We always want to go clockwise. So I'm going to start here at the very bottom, left click once. We'll type in 24 for 24 inches deep. Let's go 80 inches wide. And let's go down again 24 inches wide. And now we're going to hit escape on the keyboard. And now I have my reach-in closet with 3 different placement zones. Please make a note that I did not create this fully and enclose it and made it a rectangle. Here is a pro tip. If you're creating a master closet, for example, a master closet might look something similar to this. And you can make a note that I have not gone ahead and connected them. I always want to make a break where the door is. And the reason why I like to make that is that I can make one wall greater or less than the other wall. If you fully enclose the closet and connect them, you will not be able to change the wall dimensions for a future date or when you do your final measures. So always create the break wherever the door is. So that is my tip for everyone. Now that we have a reach-in closet, we also understand that we have 3 different placement zones, wall 1, wall 2, wall 3. To clean this up is very simple and might be easier for your installer as well as you and the client. We're going to right-click anywhere on the wall. We're going to left-click our properties. In our properties, we're going to select wall number 1. Behind it, I see it's green and it's highlighted. We can go ahead and click on our type tab and deselect the placement zone, and it is vanished. So again, you can see that it's cleaned up a little bit and a lot easier to see. We want wall number 2, so we're going to keep the placement zone there. And wall number 3, we can deselect it here. Click on apply and OK. And at any time, if you mistakenly deleted a placement zone, you can always right-click back on the walls, go back to your properties, and again, find the wall that you'd like, left-click the type tab, and re-add back in the placement zone. So again, we can always add and subtract it. Also, at this time, I can select on the wall group, left-click my dimensions tab, and always change the height of it. The default height is 96 inches, and we'll keep it at the 96-inch level height. And certainly we could change it either together or individually per wall. We'll click on OK. Now that we have one placement zone, we're going to grab our elevation. To grab our elevation, there are 2 different ways. One, I can double click inside this placement zone. So I've double clicked and I've got my elevation zone. Let's click on the undo button. The second way to grab my elevation zone is to left click the placement zone that I want an elevation. I'm going to hover over the room layout tab and click on add elevation. And now I've got my elevation view here. At this time, I highly recommend mapping out your drawing. With closets, you'll be dealing with several different walls, so it's easier to map it out as you go, even before you start designing. I'm going to double click the tab and we can label this as wall A, wall B, wall C. We can label this as elevation 1, 2, and so forth. I like to label this as elevation 1. I'm going to copy this. We'll click on OK. My tab has now changed to elevation 1, so that'll be easier if I have several different tabs. We're going to click on our annotations tab, left click add note, and we're also going to label this like so. Like you can label this at the top or bottom. And again, we're going to add another note for my top view. Click on OK, and now I've got my elevation 1 mapped out. We're going to use the elevation view primarily. This is different from kitchens, where with kitchens, you primarily work on the top view. With closets, we majority, 98% of the time, or a very high percentage, will be working with our elevation view. On the left-hand side for our local browser, we're going to double-click our modules. We have several different types of modules. The first is our stackable module. These ones are modules that stack one on top of another. This is great, especially if you're dealing with very, very tall ceilings. You can stack a module on top of another one. Next is a wall module system. A wall module system uses a hanging rail system, and it's got a rail system right here. If you can see it ever so slightly, I'll also show you right here in the dealer portal what that looks like. If I hover over the training tab, left click installation videos, we can then scroll all the way down to our wall module section. We're going to left click our wall rail system. So this is the system that we use to hang it off the ground. We have a hanging rail with pre-drilled holes that your installer will try to find a wooden stud, the cover for it, and then we have the arm and mechanism, which gets mounted right on the vertical panels. It's got two adjustment screws, an adjustment screw in the back to move the arm forward and backward, thus moving the system forward and backward. We have a screw at the very bottom, an adjustment screw to move the arm up and down, thus moving the entire system up and down to make sure it's all lined up. Next is our tall module system. The tall modules is the one that majority of the clients use, and this tall module system just sits right on the ground. Next is our tall corners. We have our tall corners. It's always going to be on the ground. This is not available as a wall module system. We've got our angled corners as well as radial corners, and we'll touch base on that later on this video. Next is we have our island modules. With our island modules, we have a front as well as a back with a partition in the middle. We can add several different openings to this and change the different heights and depths depending on what you would like. These closet island modules can be used as an actual island or as a peninsula. For this first version that we're going to do, because there are several different ways to build a closet, I'm going to show you two of them for this introductory session. With the reach and closets, there's only so many configurations that you can do. What we're going to do is we're going to build drawers in the middle, shelves on top. We're going to do a double hang on the left-hand side and a long hang on the right-hand side. I'm going to go ahead and build it in the middle, left, then right. With our second version, we're going to make just one area. So again, we're going to show you two different areas, so please bear with me while I show you the different ways. So let's create a middle module. We're going to grab a tall module so it sits on the ground. We're going to left click and hold down my mouse. I'm going to drag it into my elevation view, and as soon as I see my magnet, I'm going to go to my farthest working left and let go of my mouse. A new dialog box will appear. I'm going to right click the illustration so I can see the textured edges with lines. Now we use the 32 millimeter European system, so the center of every line boring hole is 32 millimeters, with the exception of the very top hole and the very bottom hole, which is 10 millimeters from the edge. With this European system, it's also 37 millimeters from the front edge to the front hole. Each hole uses a 5 millimeter drill bit. The first row is our height. The default height is 83 and 15/16. If I click on any one of these up buttons, the next increment is 85 and 3/16. If I click on the up button again, it's 86 and 7/16. So it is jumping from hole pattern to hole pattern. And it's converting it from metric to imperial here. We can go as high as 107 and 7/8 as a one piece and edge band, or we can go as short as 12 and an 8. You cannot round the numbers, so if you wanted exactly 100 inches, the next increment closest to it would be 105/16. Again, because we're using the European system, is going down by whole pattern to whole pattern. We'll keep this at 83 15/16 as our default height. Next row is applied back. Right now, we currently have a backlist, but we can also add a back to it. Most dealers and designers will have it backlist to save money for your end client. And that's what we're going to do today. And there again, that is our option. Next row is one opening. So right now I have one module with one opening. If I'd like to select the drop down, I can select on one module with two openings. And you can certainly see that we are sharing the panel. Whenever we take in consideration of sharing the panels and our dimensions, we always want to account for 3/4 inch of our vertical board, 24 inches wide, 3/4 inch board here, 24 inches wide, and 3/4 again. So we're always using inside dimensions, which differ from kitchens, where you take your measurements from outside panel to outside panel. For now, for this demonstration, we're going to have one module with one opening. Next is opening depth 14 inches. This is the closet standard, which is going to be an open system. If I click on the drop-down button, I have different presets, and we can go custom. We can certainly go custom to a 1/16 of an inch. That's very, very accurate. Please make a note, everything's going to be an open system so people can see right through the closet if it's going to be 21 inches deep or less. If you want to make this a closed system, so you add cabinet doors in the front and closing everything, you will have to make this 22 or even 24 inches deep. For now, we're going to make an open system. We're going to keep it at 14 inches deep. Next is opening one width. The default is 24, but if I click on the drop-down button, I have different presets of 12, 15, 18, 24, 30, and 36. And we can also go custom. We can go to a maximum of 48 inches wide and as narrow as 8 inches wide. Magic numbers will always be 18, 24, and 30. The reason why those are magic numbers is that a majority of our accessories from Hefla come in those specific dimensions. If I go back into my dealer portal, we can hover the product overview and left-click accessories and access our closet accessory page. In our closet accessory page, we can showcase, for example, pant rack pullouts. They only come in 18, 24, and 30 inches wide. Tilt-out hampers, 18, 24, and 30. We could also see, for example, jewelry trays and belt trays. They only come in 24 inches wide. So please make a note, if you want to add any of these accessories, they have to come in certain widths. We're going to build an accessory, so we're going to click 24 inches wide, and we'll showcase how to add that accessory. Next is panel left fully drilled and panel right fully drilled. That means I've got bored holes on the inside and outside of the vertical panels or gables. If I select on the drop down for panel on the left, the next one is half drilled. If it's half drilled, it means that I've got bored holes on the inside, but I've got a clean face on the outside. This is great for end panels. If the client needs to see it, again, this would be a great way. The next is going to be not drilled. If you select no drilling on the vertical panel, there is absolutely no drilling on the inside or the outside. If the client wants to add vertical shelves or any items, you as the designer will have to bring in an extra board that's fully drilled, and the installer will then have to use that as a stencil. Please add extra time for your installer, as this may be time consuming depending on the size of the project. Last but not least is panel left, panel removed. If we are sharing it with the next module over or sharing a panel, we could always remove the panel. It doesn't matter which side we want to remove it, we could always share it. Please make a note that you can only share the panels if they're the exact same depth. So therefore, the hole patterns are going to be the same. We'll put this in the middle, so we'll keep both panels fully drilled on the left and right side. Next is bottom shelf. We can add and subtract the bottom shelf if we wish. The same thing with our top shelf, add or subtract, and our toe cakes, add or subtract. And we could also increase the height of our toe cake. If you have a heat register, or if you have an obstacle, or even a tall baseboard, for example, that could be an obstacle. We could always raise our toe cake height. We'll keep it all at default height for now at 3 3/4. We're going to select OK, and we are just going to drop in our module anywhere in our plan view or elevation view. We're going to use our top view, and we're going to center this module. As I said, we're going to make a middle module. We're going to right click the module itself. It's depicted as T-mod for short. We're going to left click center, and now I have a plus as my cursor. We're going to go and hover down over the placement zone and double click inside the placement zone, and it will tell the module to center it in this area. So now I'm centered. Let's go back and work on our elevation. Next is we're going to create something called our tall module stretchable. Anything that says stretchable means that we can stretch it and fill in the gaps. Please make a note, I don't use this for all modules. I only use anything called stretchable just to fill in a gap. Otherwise, I like to actually tell the program what I actually want to do. So we're going to fill in this gap here, and we're going to make a 1/4 inch variance on the left side and a 1/4 inch variance on the right side, because I know that drywall is never straight or plumb, and I want to create a little bit of wiggle room for my installer. We could always make this greater too. It doesn't have to be a 1/4 inch. We can make this 1 inch or greater and add fillers to this. We're going to grab our tall module stretchable, and this is the way that I personally like to do this. We're going to grab a tall module stretchable, drag it into my elevation. As soon as I see my magnet, go to my farthest working left, right about here, and let go of my mouse. The same dialog box appears, but it doesn't have width rows. We're going to right click the illustration to see the textured lines. And from top to bottom, we're going to keep it at 83 15/16, no backing, 14 inches deep, panel on left fully drilled. Now this is connecting to an adjacent wall and it won't be shown, so I'm going to keep this as fully drilled. In case the installer makes a mistake on any of these other panels, he or she can then swap them out. Panel on the right, I'm going to remove this panel because we're going to share it with this panel here like so. And again, we're adding the top shelf and toe kick. We're going to select OK and watch what happens. I'm just going to move my mouse left and right. I'm not touching anything else except moving my mouse left and right. Now I'm going to drop this a 1/4 inch off this left wall. To do that, I'm going to hover over to my placement zone and wall left. I'm going to delete this and tell the program that I want this a 1/4 inch off the left wall. And we're going to hit enter on our keyboard. Now that I've hit enter on my keyboard, I'm a 1/4 inch off the wall. I can then right click on my elevation view, the tall module stretchable. The tall module stretchable has now this row called resize width. If I click on the regular tall module, it does not have that button. So we're going to hover over our tall module stretchable, and I can see resize width. I'm going to left click, and now I can resize it from left to right. So we're going to go left to right, go right into the next module, right in the middle, left click once, and now I have stretched the module and fit it to a 1/16 of an inch. We'll do the same thing on the right-hand side, something that's very similar, but a bit different. We're going to left click my tall module stretchable, drag it in as soon as I see my magnet farthest working left, so right about here, and let go of my mouse. We are then going to right click the illustration, keep it at 83 15/16. Panel on the left this time is going to be removed. We do want a bottom shelf, top shelf, and toe kick, but right here where it says clearance right, this is where I'm going to change for the right side. We're going to subtract that and change this to a 1/4 inch. So when I'm going from left to right, it's going to stop a 1/4 inch before it hits the perpendicular wall or my obstacle. Let's left click OK. I can then move my module. We're going to go to my farthest left. So left click once to attach it. And now we're going to go to my farthest right. So right about here, we're going to left click. You can see how far I am away. Left click once. And if I zoom in, I now can see that I am a 1/4 inch off the left wall and a 1/4 inch off the right wall. So that is one way how to add our modules. Let's add a second way. So maybe the client wants 3 equal modules. So how do we do that? How do we do the math? And how can we achieve this? So here's a second way of how to do this. We're going to go ahead back to our room layout, click on the continuous wall. And again, we're going to make this 24 inches deep, 80 inches wide, and 24 inches deep again. Okay. Once again, we're going to right click anywhere on the walls, left click our properties, and deselect placement wall 1. So type tab, deselect, wall 3, deselect, apply, and OK. And now I've got one placement zone. We're going to double click and grab our elevation. We are now going to map it out. I'm going to double click my tab, and we'll call this elevation 2. And now we're going to click our annotations tab, add note, and drop it in like so. We'll also go to add note here and drop it in like so. We're going to be working with our elevation zone. And now I'm going to grab my trusty calculator here. I like to use Microsoft Excel or Google Sheets because it actually can do fractions and decimals at the same time, however you wish. So here is my calculations. All right, so let's say that we have an 80-inch wide section, just like behind me here. So my total width. Now, we know that we have to create a 1/4 inch variant, so we'll type in a 1/4 inch. So this, oops, let's type in 0.25 maybe. Or let's delete this actually, delete. We'll type in equals a 1/4 inch. So this is going to be my variance left. We're going to type in equals a 1/4 inch here, and that's going to be my variance right. And now we have 3 modules with 4 panels. So if you have one module, you have 2 panels. If you have 2 modules, you have 3 panels, and so forth. So I know that my obstacles are 4 panels. Let's go back to our math. So we're going to have equals 3/4 inches 4 times. You could also type in equals 0.75, equals 0.75. So this is going to be my panel, and 4 times. Now we can say equals my total width minus my variances minus my 3/4 inch panels 4 times. So we have an opening width that's workable is 76.5 inches. All we got to say is equals 76.5 inches divided by 3. And now I'm going to have 3 equal openings of 25.5 inches wide. So now that we've done the math on it, let's go to elevation 2. And this is how I prefer to create this. We're going to be doing one module with multiple openings. We're going to grab our tall module, drag and drop it into my elevation view. I see my magnet and let go of my mouse. I'm going to right click on the illustration so I can see it a bit better. But all we're going to do is we're just going to click on OK and just drop in one module and drop it off to our farthest left. That's all we're going to do. The reason why I do this is we're dealing with a confined space. If I drop this module that's not even close to the wall, it might not allow me to add all the stuff that I want because we're dealing with a confined space. So I recommend to drop in one module as is, and now we can go back into it by right-clicking inside the module. So right in the middle, we're going to right-click my tall module. So there's my T mod, and we're going to left-click attributes. In our attributes section, we're going to right-click the illustration. And again, we can go to our variables, and this looks exactly like the attributes when we first drag and drop a module. So now we're going to keep it at 83 15/16. But right here, instead of one module with one opening, we're going to click one module with 3 openings. Now take a look at the illustration on the left-hand side. We now have 3 openings with shared panels. We'll keep the opening depth at 14 inches. Opening 1 depth, default is 24, same thing as 2 and 3 and so forth. Instead of 24, we're going to click on custom. And again, this is custom to a 1/16 of an inch. I'm going to type in 25.5. Left click anywhere in this gray column to move on. Opening 2 width, click the drop down, click on custom. And the next field, we're going to type in 25.5. Left click anywhere inside the left column here to move on. And opening 3, we're going to left click custom and select the bottom custom to 25.5. Left click inside this area here, and we're going to scroll down. We can keep our panels fully drilled because obviously it is connected to an actual adjacent wall and it won't be seen. We're going to select on OK. And now we have one module with 3 equal openings. All I have to do now is go to my top view. You can see that I have one module with 3 openings. We're going to right click in the center and left click center it and double click inside the placement zone. And now I've double clicked and centered all three modules. If I look very closely, I can see that I now have 3/16 of an inch. Because of the rounding of the numbers, we didn't have a 1/4 inch, but 3/16 will suffice. But that's how you create one module with 3 equal openings. This holds true if you wanted to do this math as well. You can also do one module with 3 openings if you've done this math previously, and you can copy this exact same formula by having it opening 1, 2, 3, 26, 3/16, opening 2 at 24, and opening 3 at 26 and 3/16 as well. So they both work both ways. Let's go ahead and work on our first one. Now that we're done adding our modules for our first 2 examples, we're going to double click our categories and we're going to move on to parts. If I double click our parts, we've got our panels, shelves, drawers, doors, floating shelves, and below we've got cleats, toe kicks, valances, inset backing, tops, and fillers. You'll see that all our parts have something called standalone. Anything that says standalone means that you can drag and drop a part off screen that's not connected to a module. So if I wanted a top, so these are countertops, and not add it to the design, but adding it off screen, I can left click anything that says standalone, drag it off screen, and now I can add the part. Maybe you want to add a part for pieces or to work around an obstacle, or maybe your installer just wishes to have extra material. Anything that says standalone means dragging, dropping it off screen. All right, let's go ahead to the top. Panels. If we double click our panels, we have several different types of panels. We have panel left, meaning we've got holes on the left-hand side, but none on the outside. Vice versa for panel on the right, we've got bored holes on the left, but clean face on the right. We've got a fully drilled panel. So in case you wanted to bring in an extra part, fully drilled panel on the left and right, again, we can drag this off screen. And I have another one that's not drilled. The same apply for our wall module systems. So these ones are a little bit different because it's got a notch at the very top. Last but not least is we have dividers. In case you wanted dividers for cubbies or to add for your pantries, those are dividers. Left side for left drilled, right side for right drilled, and the same thing, fully drilled and no drilled. Please take a look at our videos, which I'll showcase right now. All our parts, if you go back to our PFC catalog training videos, training, PFC catalog videos, and at the very bottom, section 2 of 3 are all our parts. So if you want to figure out how to use any of these parts, please click on it. If you take a look now, this is the exact same replica of our catalog, modules to modules, parts to parts. We'll just minimize that for a moment here. But yeah, we can take a look that these clearly cross-reference beautifully together, modules to modules, parts to parts, accessories to accessories. So it's very easy to find the video and cross-reference the part and how to use it. Moving on from our panels, we have our shelves. We've got a shelf fixed. So these have cammed holes at the very bottom. We've got adjustable shelves. We've got our slanted shoe shelf. So these are slanted with the shoe fence included. We've got bridge shelves connecting corners together. This is for another time. We've got glass shelves. And if you use any one of our corner modules, we've got our corner modules here, either radial or angled. Moving on from our shelves, there are drawers. For our drawers, we have 3 different styles of drawers. We have our 3/4 inch assembled or unassembled option drawer box. It's our standard drawer box, which is commonly used. Next is our dovetail drawer boxes. These are dovetailed, and these are pre-built at the factory, and these are 5/8 inches. To read this, it's 3/4 inch melamine drawer box, 6-inch high drawer front, 8-inch high drawer front, 9-inch high drawer front, and so forth. Same thing with the dovetails. This will read dovetail drawer box, 6-inch high. Moving on to the last type of drawer box is our scoop dovetail drawer boxes. These come without the drawer front, and it's got a scoop in the front there. These are great for pantries or reach-in closets that don't need to be covered up. Last but not least is we have our jewelry trays with a drop-down drawer front. We've got belt trays, and we also have ironing boards. So again, these all have drop-down drawer fronts. Moving on from our drawers, there are doors. We've got our standard door. The first one is the one that I use the most. Next is we have lift doors in case you want to have a lift door at the very top of the module. We have decorative doors. So for example, if you had an end panel and you wanted to decorate it, you certainly can, especially closet islands. And then we also have back doors and horizontal doors, and again, more in the dealer portal. Going back to our parts, we have our floating shelves. Our floating shelf system is a fantastic system, and the hardware comes from Richelieu. In our dealer portal, we can hover over the product overview, click on closet and garage components. In our closet and garage components, we can scroll down, and now we can see our 3/4 inch versus 1.5 inch thick components. We're going to left click our benefits, and we can see that we have a 3/4 inch panel versus a 1.5 inches thick. This is what we use for our floating shelves, 1.5 inch thick material. If I click on our floating shelves, we can see our properties. The depth is between 7 inches and 12 inches deep. Our width is between 24 to 78. And again, our thickness will always be 1.5 inches. The reason why this product is superior from Richelieu is that these prongs have an adjustment screw at the very bottom. So it's got a tilting feature to tilt the actual shelf up and down. This is great, especially because if drywall is not straight or plumb, or because it's never perfect, we can easily adjust this and have it level. All right, now that we've understand our parts, we also have got cleats, toe kicks, extra valences, and tops and fillers. So let's go ahead and start building. So we're going to go into our elevation view. We're going to start with our drawers system here. So we're going to click on our drawers, and let's choose the largest one, 3/4 inch melamine drawer box, 12 inches high. We're going to left click, drag and drop it. As soon as I see my magnet, I can go to any module. It doesn't matter which module you drop this in. I'm going to left click and let go of my mouse. And you can see that now I can move this into position to any module. We're going to drop it in the middle, left click once it's in position, and we can now see the drawer fronts. Let's try that again. Left click the item, drag it to any module, and we always want to go in the middle of any module. It doesn't matter where. Please make a note, do not drop it on top of an existing part. The computer program will have a hard time trying to figure out where to place this because you're dropping it off into another part and it may freeze on you. So I always like to go into the middle of a module, let go of your mouse, and again, I can move it into any position now. We're going to go in the middle, left click, and drop it in. Let's do it one more time. I like to add 3 drawer boxes. Let go of your mouse and drop. Now that I've actually added 3 drawer boxes, we're going to add a fixed shelf right here. We always want a fixed shelf at the very top of a drawer bank. We're going to left click our parts. We'll go to shelves, and the first one, which is shelf fixed. Again, left click, hold down your mouse. You see a magnet, let go of your mouse, and then move it into position. Now we always go half overlays. We're going to drop it right here for a half overlay. The half overlays are going to be 5/16 of an inch on each overlay. So there's my 5/16 on the side there. And then I also have a half overlay of 5/16 at the very top as well. Therefore, because all our door and drawer fronts are half overlay, we can certainly share the panels. Very different from kitchens. Now that we've added our drawer boxes, we can simply grab our shelf adjustable, and they're depicted all in yellow. I can left click, drag and drop, and put it into position. Left click, drag and drop, letting go of my mouse, and again, putting this into position. I can grab another shelf fixed, and we'll put this into position for our double hang, and then another one for our long hang like so. Now that we're done all our parts, let's go into our accessories. In our accessories, we are now going to categories, accessories. In our closet accessories, we have our rods, pull-outs, tilt-outs, wire baskets, and so forth. If I double-click on our rods, these are closet rods. Every accessory has 2 components. One that says graphical drag and drop. You can see that I have a closet rod. The default is oval chrome, and it comes with holders, and they are all cut to size. And then we also have a wardrobe lift. We can left-click our closet rod, drag and drop it into position. Left-click, drag, and drop. Left click, drag and drop, and put into position. When it does say non-graphical, it says these items need to be used in item list. Let's go into our item list. We're going to right-click anywhere off screen and left-click Show Item List. In our Show Item List, we'll give that a moment to populate. Now that it's populated, we can see here at the very bottom, we have 4 different tabs. With our 4 different tabs, we have got our items, calculated items, accessories and extra costs, and comments. In the items tab, these are all the things that are graphically that we've dragged and dropped it here. We can quickly take a look into our display settings. We'll click on our description, and we can see that every part that we've added into our design comes with our fasteners. So that is the beauty part of our program. The fasteners and accessories all come depending on the parts that you drag and drop, and it's all pre-calculated for you. Underneath our calculated items, if you have moldings and such, for sure, then we would then see it here, but we don't have any moldings, so it won't be calculated there, or fillers. But here underneath accessories and extra costs is where we're going to use the non-graphical items for our accessories. We're going to double click our accessories here, click on our closet rods, and again, graphical drag and drop, it won't be used here, but we can use the non-graphical. If you wanted to buy an oval chrome rod that's 8 foot long, we can left click, drag and drop it here, quantity 1, and now I know that an 8-foot section costs $10.04. Please remember that you also have to include the closet rod holders. So these are kind of great, especially if you want to add accessories but don't want to add it to the design. Maybe your client came back to you and said, hey, I need some extra accessories. Please put them or place an order for me. This is kind of where you would like to go. We're going to go ahead and delete these. And we can go back to our design by right-clicking anywhere and going to our show item list. So we're going to right-click off screen and click on show design. Now that we're back in our show item list, we've done talking about our closet rods, but now we're going to click on an accessory and put a couple accessories in here. So we're going to click on our wire basket. So let's go ahead and click on a 6-inch high wire basket, drag and drop it. And you can see this is a 24-inch wide module. I can select and place the wire basket here. It's a magic number. If I go to my left, it won't drag in there because it's not a magic number. So the program is smart enough to place this basket where it's deemed necessary or where it can fit. We can also add other accessories such as pullouts. We can click on our accessories, pullouts, and we can select our tie rack pullout. You can see that that's what it looks like. We have a left and right. It doesn't matter to choose left and right. The installer will choose to place it wherever they deem necessary, or if the client wants to change it from left to right, they certainly can. It's the exact same product, but the left and the right is primarily for placement on the design itself. We can select our tie rack, and now we've got a tie rack located here. Let's click on one more. Let's click on a belt rack. Belt rack, drag and drop, and we can now put a belt rack here like so. Now that I've added my accessories, we're going to go ahead and go back into parts. I did forget to add a cleat. I like to add a cleat to one module at the very top of every single opening. This will act as an anchor point. Okay. Because right now this is backless and the installer has to somehow put into place so it doesn't move. So I'm adding cleats. Now that I've added all my parts and all my accessories, we're going to go ahead and clean this up. To clean this up, we're going to add our annotations. So you can make note that you, as the designer, are creating the blueprint. So if you are the actual installer, what do you need to build this closet? Like what dimensions do you need? So we're going to click on our annotations, our line to line, and we're going to go ahead and choose where we're going to be placing these schematics. Top of the rod to the very bottom, top of the rod to the very bottom. The average short hang is going to be between 35 and 37 inches. So I'm going to make this 36 and 37. When I'm grabbing these dimensions, I'm grabbing it from the top of the rod to the next available. To move an item, you can left click the item and then left click again to grab it and move it into place. Let's give it a second there. So we're going to left click, grab it, and drag it down. And if that doesn't work, we can always left click off screen. And then we can also right click on the item and then move it down, up and down individually. So there's several different ways to do this. A question that I get asked every single day is how much spacing should be between the fixed shelf and the closet rod? Now, I personally like 2 3/16, but you can certainly move this up if you wish. And now you can move it one hole spacing, and one hole spacing is 15/16 of an inch. Just depends on your client and how large their hanger system is. But I'm going to go ahead and move this down one hole pattern, sorry, 2 hole patterns to make it 2 3/16 of an inch. Moving on. We're also going to grab it for our long hang. Long hang sections from the top of the rod to the next available is average between 60 and 65 inches. And again, you do have to double check with your clients to see exactly what is required and how much spacing they need. Now that I've kind of gotten all my schematics, I can then certainly go ahead and change my color schemes. The client will also need to know the drawer fronts, sizes as well. So let's go ahead and try to find our line-to-line dimensions. Now that we're done with our schematics, we can also add any additional notes. So I'm going to add a note saying that this is 14 inches deep and deep tall modules. And we're going to say that we have fully drilled panels. And we're also going to say a 1/4 inch variance left and right. This is optional, but I highly recommend adding these notes. And that way it'll just, again, be easier for your installer and the client when they're reviewing it. All right, so we're going to go ahead and change the colors. We're not going to work on this one right now. We're just going to go ahead and delete this because I'm going to show you a different type and way right after. All right, so now let's go back to elevation 1. We've deleted elevation 2. On our elevation 1, now that we're done our cleanup, we can just quickly auto hide all these dimensions. So all I'm doing is right-clicking the line, auto dim and hide. Okay, now that I've added all my dimensions, let's go ahead and change our colors. To change our colors, we're going to click on the Items tab, and we're going to click on Features and Options, which is the paintboard brush. Left-click Features and Options. We're going to either A, select every single section and change the properties at the very bottom, or I can select Global, especially if it's a smaller design. If it's a small design, click on global and change everything all at once. If it's a larger design, such as a master closet and so forth, I would then click on every single item and change the very bottom what I need. We're going to click on global because it's a very small design. From top to bottom, let's change our properties. Slides option, drawers, option code, undermount soft close slide. We can click option code and we can now change it from undermount to side mount if we wish. We'll keep it at undermount. Next is closet finish structure. Default is in white and all our hardware is in chrome. For our closet structure, it's in white, but I can select, for example, level 2 pricing. If I select level 2 pricing, I now have a new row, finish TFL level 2. We can click on the option code FS, and then we can change it to one of our other colors. I'm going to change it to first class. It's one of my favorite colors in the TFL level 2 pricing. Next is rod finish and options. I can select the option code and change it from oval chrome rod to a round rod chrome, round rod aluminum, round rod black, and so forth. Let's keep it to oval chrome. It's my favorite. Next is drawer front profile. Default is our Euro flat front, but I can certainly change it to a 5-piece shaker. Let's change it to a 5-piece shaker. Next is our pull options. We can click on the NH underneath the option code. We can change it from push to open. We can keep it to no handle, especially if you're providing your own, or I can change it to one of these other options. Let's click on a basic pull handle here. Next is my finished drawer front. So now we're changing the colors on just the drawer fronts. Let's match it with the structure by selecting TFL level 2. And now we're going to change it from Free Spirit to first class. So now my structure is TFL level 2 first class and my drawer fronts. The next row is closet accessory. we had two accessories in there. We had the belt tray, and I believe it was the belt rack or tie rack, but we can change it from a polished chrome to any one of these other colors. It will always be an upgrade in price if you change it from chrome to another color. Let's keep it as matte gold just for conversation's sake. Next is wire basket, defaulted in chrome, but I can change it to one of the other colors. Let's change this one to matte gold. So we'll keep all the accessory matte gold. Next is 3/4 inch melamine drawer box. The box itself we have to change. We can keep it white because it's going to stay hidden if we'd like and keep the cost down, or match it. Let's go ahead and match this. We'll go to level 2. And again, now we're changing the drawer box to first class. So essentially I changed the color 3 times: the structure, the drawer front, and the drawer box. Next is edge banding. Anything that says edge banding, please leave it alone. It's all defaulted perfectly where we edge band the tops, the bottoms, the backs. Everything has been edge banded with the exception of a few items such as your fixed shelves. If you do select our standard drawer box, there is another row here called drawer assembled. It's defaulted to no, so that way your installer can build this on site. It typically takes an average of 2 to 3 minutes to build one drawer box. So you can certainly change it from not assembled to assembled, but you will be paying an extra fee for us to have it assembled. Please make a note, this will grow your freight as we are now making your dimensions of your pallet larger. We're going to select non-assembled to keep the cost down and make it cheaper for the freight as well. All right, so now that we're all done, we're going to click on OK. We'll give that a minute to change. And now we can go to our perspective view to take a look at our new drawing. Here is now my drawing of my first class, and all the changes have been made. We are sharing the panels, we're having a backless, and we've got a cleat to adhere to the back wall. We've got matte gold wire baskets, matte gold accessories, and oval chrome rods, and then we have our stainless steel pull handle. So again, you could certainly mix and match, or you could individually change anything. If you want to individually change a color, so for example, if you want to just change this one color, we can click on the shelf itself, go back to features and options this way, and now you're in features and options. If you scroll down, I can see that that one shelf has been selected, and now we can change it to, for example, back to level 1. Click on OK. Let's go into our perspective view. And now we can see that one item is now back to white. So you can certainly two-tone it. You can select different colors however you wish. So that concludes our tall modules and changing the colors. The next item is how to make a wall module system. So the question I get asked is, can we create the exact same system, make it cheaper, but off the ground? Absolutely. Let's do the same thing that we did for the first preview. We're going to click on our categories, modules, categories, modules. And we're going to grab a wall module, drag and drop it. This is going to be in the center. We're going to add drawers and shelves on top. We're going to right-click the illustration. We can see on the illustration, it's already got the hanging rail system. Instead of 47 3/8, we're going to grow these panels, and let's grow them to 72 5/8. The largest wall module system that you can have is going to be 83 15/16, and the biggest depth that you can have is going to be 15 inches. We'll keep the height at 72 5/8, no backing, one opening, 14 inches deep. We'll keep this in 24 inches wide, fully drilled panels, but instead of a bottom shelf with a rod, we just want a regular bottom shelf, like so. We're going to select on OK. Left click to drop it in. We'll now go back to our top view. We'll give that a second. Right click the actual wall module. We are going to left click center, double click the placement zone. I've centered this module. So this will be for my drawers and shelves. We're going to grab a wall module stretchable. And again, we're only using stretchable when we want to fill in the gap. We're going to drag and dropping it here. Right click the illustration. And we're going to keep it at 47 3/8. That's a fantastic number. We're going to subtract the panel on the right. And we're going to add our own bottom shelf and a rod. And I'll tell you why in just a moment. We'll click on OK. And now, again, we're going to drop this 1/4 inch toward the left wall. So we're going to go here, wall left. We want this to be 1/4 inch off the left wall. We'll hit enter. And now we are going to right click the wall module stretchable. and left click resize width. And again, we're going to attach it like so. And this will be for my double hang. We're going to grab one more, and this will be for my long hang. But because the long hang doesn't need a lot of wood material, we can certainly shrink the height of the panel. We'll right click the illustration, and we're going to keep this at 28.5, just as an example. And you can always change this height if you wish. No backing, 1/4 inch clearance on the right side. We're going to subtract the panel on the left and no bottom shelf, and we'll add our own. We're going to left click on OK. We're going to go to my farthest left once it's ready. Left click once, go to my farthest right, left click again. And now I've got a 1/4 inch variance on the left and right side. And now all I got to do now is go to my categories, parts, drawers. And again, we're just dragging and dropping all our parts, which is fairly easy to do. So you can see that this closet is approximately going to be about $200 less expensive than the one with the tall module. So what are the advantages of using a wall module system versus a tall module system? Well, if the client wants to change their floor, or they don't want you to change or cut their baseboard, a wall module system is a fantastic idea to save costs on the money and prevent those obstacles. All the installer has to do is try to install the hanging rail system. If you use a tall module system, you're thus cutting the baseboard, removing it, and having this more of a built-in concept. Please refer to the installation training section on cutting baseboards on how to do this. So again, we're just going to go out of my parts, shelves. We're going to add a shelf fixed at the very top to enclose it. And we're going to go ahead now and add our adjustable shelves. So we'll add a few adjustable shelves like so. We can add another shelf fix right here on the left-hand side. This will be for our double hang. And another one for my long hang here. So what's really good, it doesn't matter what size of the module, it is going to resize according to the module itself. So all the parts are very, very easy. We're now going to go ahead to our categories, accessories, rods, closet rod. And now we're going to drag and drop a couple closet rods like so. And let's give the program a minute to think here. So now, again, you can see that I'm creating a double hang. Because I don't have a bottom shelf and a toe kick, I am now gaining space. So for example, the top of the rod to the next available, this will now be 38 and change, and the bottom one's going to be 39 and change. So what? Quickly take a peek. We're going to right click, go to my closet rod. We'll click up and down. We'll move this 2 hole spaces down. So that's 1 hole pattern, 2 hole patterns. So now I have 39, 3 and 7/8. Let's just move this fixed shelf up ever so slightly. So left click off screen, right click the shelf, up and down, and move it up 1 hole. So now I've got 38 and change, and top of the rod to the next available. Now I have 39 and change. So I've kind of grown the system a little bit because I don't have any more obstacles. And then the same thing here with my long hang. And move that down 1 hole space to 2 hole spacing. And all I got to do now is just kind of clean up my schematics. But essentially, we're going to stop there. But essentially, you can create the exact same system with a different type of module. Sorry, the exact same plan, but a different type of module. Okay. So we can see the 2 differences here. Let's go into our perspective view. And again, like I said, every time you drag and drop a new part, the new part is going to be in chrome and it's going to be in white. So therefore, we always want to do 1 design file per room. If you've got 5 rooms, you're going to have 5 different design files. Okay. So again, essentially, these are exactly the same. We just didn't add the accessories, but the exact same type of plan, but different systems, off the ground and on the ground. This is more expensive, but it's got more weight-bearing load on it. And this one is off the ground, and your installer doesn't have to cut any baseboards. Now, I'm going to go ahead and delete the first one here. I'm going to delete all this because we don't really need it. I want to show you the exact price on this. We're going to go ahead and just delete what we've just done here. Okay, now that's being deleted. we're going to click on the price. If we click on our presentation tab, we can click on any one of these reports. If we click on any one of these reports, like such as your cost sell report, it will only give you the dealer price. You then have to add a multiplier to this to add extra overhead, freight, as well as profit. Please do not share any reporting that comes from our catalog. Again, that is only your dealer cost. If we scroll down, we can figure out that that system that I just built costs $1,339 US. So that is your cost itself. You can see that's all the exact same pricing. The other way to get the pricing is we can click on the presentation tab and left click quick price. Once I left click quick price, I can then hover over here and see that I have the same number here. So that again, that is my dealer pricing. Please refer back to our other training sessions to talk about our multipliers and freight. To quickly do that, we're going to hover over our training tab, click on the sales and design. And again, by this time, everyone should have already done session 1 and 2. But down at the very bottom, under forms, we've got our cost and retail pricing multipliers. So this link will give you an example of how to use different multipliers. And below here is our freight chart. If you want to calculate the freight for the entirety of the design, please refer to this chart. When you're referring to this chart, always grab the grand total of all the clauses for the one project before you cross-reference. You don't want to cross-reference one item to freight that. It's got to be combined. We're always combining everything to save money on freight. Support. Now that we're in support and we're done our training, if you ever want further information, you're going to hover over the support tab, click on support. In support, we have our toll-free number, 1-866-227-206. We also have the support email. This is the email that you'll be using the very most. Support@perfectfitcanada.com will connect to our support team. Regardless if it's tracking, ordering, design help, the next available person will reply back to you. Last but not least is book an appointment. If you click book an appointment, this refers to our online booking page. In our online booking page, we can double check our time zone if our time zone is correct. So always double check our time zone. Click the applicable date and time. We can select our date. So for example, the 3rd at 9 a.m. You can type in your first name, last name, email address, phone number, company name, and the reason for booking. You can say something like, I have a design that I need to double check on. I'm having troubles on the design. I want to order this closet, but I want you to check it before it places an order. We will only do design file checks with you so that we can understand your need a little bit better. So we highly advise filling in this field and booking an appointment. Once you click on the booking tab, you'll receive an email from Google Meets with the credentials for the meeting of said date and time. That same email will also be a button to reschedule it or cancel it if you would like to. You can book as many of these sessions as you like. You can book it every day if you'd like. If you want us to watch you design it and provide you assistance or education, we can certainly do that too. So once again, my name is Sherwin Keeley. I am the PFC support manager and catalog trainer. We've spoken about how to find the training videos, drawing the walls, placement zones, tall modules, dragging and dropping the module, the characteristics. We talked about our wall modules. We talked about our colors, changes, and support for addition training, but the corners. So we didn't have time for our corners, but I highly advise to watch the training page for our corners. Here is the section for it. Because it takes a little bit of time to kind of create the corners, I want our dealers to log into the training tab, go into our PFC catalog videos, and again, in section 2 of 3, this video right here, tall corner modules, will talk about our corners. There are essentially 3 different types of corners.
Not
If I quickly
interchange
go
them.
ahead and move this, we can kind of see. Let's see if I can take a quick look here and showcase. So right here on this video here, I'm going to pause it. We can see the 3 different types of corners here. First, we have the option 1 with an angled corner, option 2 with a radial corner, and then option 3. Let's see if I can zoom in on that a little bit more, a little better. right here. So this is the third option. The third option on this video is showcasing two tall modules, and we're kind of putting them as a 90-degree section there. There's more information on this. It is a fairly longer video, 21 minutes. So I highly advise to work on this and watch it on how to create these corners, because every closet will most likely need a corner if it's without a reaching closet. So now that we've talked about everything that we have, that concludes our training introductory session number 3. If you have any questions, please contact the support team at support@perfectfitcanada.com.